I'm always going to be a USA American citizen, proud USA softball supporter, USA coach formerly. And I think we need to do a better job of understanding what Japan is doing to us. I don't think we could take any longer our college plan for offense and scoring runs and to beat Japan in 2028. I think there's some real learning and evolution that needs to take place with that.
Whether you live northeast, west, or south, the best fast pitch info comes from the coach's mouth. Welcome to the From the Coach's Mouth podcast with your hosts, Jay Bolden and Ken Kraus.
Hello, everyone. Yes, welcome to the From the Coach's Mouth podcast. This is Ken Kraus, here as always with my good buddy, Jay Bolden. Jay, how are we doing today?
Hey, Ken, I'm doing actually pretty good. I love the fact that summer is upon us here. The weather is changing. It's warmer. Love getting out there. We just want to share a story. We went this weekend up to Davenport, Iowa, and played in a little triangular up there. You know, a bunch of friendlies with my 11-year-old daughter. And it was just a great experience. Got a lot of kids in, a lot of reps, you know, just rotating kids. And we got a lot of great compliments, not only about the way that we treated our players, but our parents and how they they were cheering for the other team as well, too. So those coaches and parents from the other teams were very, very complimentary towards both our staff, our kids, and our parents. And I think that's huge. The fact that our parents were celebrating the other kids as well, too. So I just want to share that story. It makes me as a coach feel really good that we're doing things the right way. And yeah, it was a great experience. And then after that, we went up there to the River Bandits game, which is right on the river there. Had a great experience there, a little minor league ballpark. They got to ride the amusement park. They got to swim with their friends in the hotel. Just a really good weekend. I came out of that weekend and we went 1-2, which, you know, people say, oh, that's not great, but the growth that we're seeing in these kids is actually really cool. That's what we're hanging our hat on. So just want to share that little story.
Yeah, well, I definitely love minor league baseball games. They're fun to go to. I think I told you last week when we went to Nashville to visit my daughter, she picked us up at the airport and we went directly to the Nashville Sounds game. So that was fun. You know, just got to do that. But I also find it interesting. I'm glad to hear that you guys had a great experience and that people really appreciated your fans and your team and the way it conducted itself, because we certainly over the weekend saw a whole different example of that. Did you see that with Florida and Texas Tech? What happened there?
Yeah, I definitely did. And, you know, in the heat of the moment, I think people, you know, in the heat of the moment, I think players and parents get overwhelmed in that moment. And I think that's when the temperature rises. People say things they shouldn't be saying, those kinds of things. And, you know, is it acceptable? I mean, it's competition and you always want to beat your opponent. But I think there's a moment where you have to take a step back and breathe and really think about, you know, what's the most important part of this whole thing here? What's the most important goal? So, yeah, I mean, it was crazy. I'm not sure a handshake would have been a good thing to do there. I am a fan of shaking hands after games. I think that's great. But I think sometimes the moment may dictate, you know, if that should happen or not. Those temperatures were super hot right there. And the last thing I think anybody would want to see is some kind of brawl there during that stuff, during the, you know, those super regionals. And so,
I don't know. I think a third of the country was rooting for a brawl.
Yeah. I'm not a fan of that. You know, I'm not a fan of that. I think, you know, we have to take a step back there and breathe and realize, you know, that all emotions and all that adrenaline is just pouring through everybody there, parents included, you know, and I think it's one of those things I don't want to ever be a part of that where it's coming down to people throwing fists. that's not the way I was raised, right? That's not what I want to be a part of. And if that's how it's going to go, then I definitely don't want to be a part of that. So, but I get it as athletes and competitors, like your job is to try to beat them and that those competitive juices and things are flying. And I'm not sure a handshake would have been a great thing there because it might have been really, really bad. if that happened. What about you? What's your take on that?
Well, I figure if hockey players can shake hands after the game, then anybody should be able to, because those guys just beat on each other for the entire time. I think that sometimes the scoring part of it is secondary to a lot of those guys. But it's a tough situation. Jay, what I would suggest, every parent that's listening to this, every coach, what they should do is they should go somewhere and watch a game where they have no stake in it whatsoever, and just listen to what goes on in the stands and the yelling and the screaming and all that umpire, it's so unfair and they're favoring the other team and all of this. And you'll be standing there watching it going, yeah, I'm not seeing any of that. This looks like a regular old game. I really think that puts it in perspective. Yeah,
for sure. I think we've had people on our podcast here before who have been coaches, Ken, and we've said this, or they said that, sometimes they won't even wear their college gear. They'll just go sit in the stands to see what the parents are saying and doing, just so they know, to who they don't want to be a part of their program. And I think that's valid. I think it's a valid thing that you said there. Be it, a bystander, you're still going to hear some of the same things but not see it. So I think that's a very great, valid point that you made there.
All right. Well, enough of us talking about the controversy here. I think we've got a guest waiting who probably can weigh in a little bit on maybe not that specific incident, but just the whole idea in general. He's a guy that's pretty knowledgeable. So let's bring him in. All right. Yep. So today's guest has seen it all, done it all, and lived to tell the tale, at least in fast-pitch softball. The Sacramento, California native began his coaching career as a travel ball coach before moving on to the college ranks. First as head coach of Centenary College of Louisiana, a D3 program in Shreveport, and later at The Ohio State University. He was also head coach of the Akron Racers in the Women's Professional Softball League, where in 1999 he was also named head coach of the Stars team for the All-Star Game. In 2002, he became part of the coaching staff for the USA Softball National Team, giving him his first exposure to international play. No stranger to controversy, our guest's coaching career took a fascinating turn when he was brought in as head coach of the Chinese national team in the run-up to the 2008 Olympics in Beijing. He took massive amounts of grief and was even told by someone at Team USA that he had committed career suicide by helping another nation in its quest to beat the highly favored USA Olympians. Today, our guest is the owner of the Fast Pitch School, LLC, an organization he founded in 1985. Located in the Reno/Sparks, Nevada area, the school provides elite-level coaching, camps, and personalized training programs for athletes looking to elevate their hitting, fielding, and pitching mechanics. He also still provides the outspoken commentary on the sport that he has been known for, which is why we are delighted to speak with him today. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Michael Bastian to the From the Coach's Mouth podcast.
Welcome.
Hey.
Hello.
Hello, Ken and Jay. Great to be with you guys. Happy to be here. I love a show called From the Coach's Mouth because my wife tells me all the time that I talk way too much. So I think this is going to be a great release for me to be able to have some good conversation with you guys. So happy to be here. Thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
All right. So
hey, I got to add, sitting there at college when I was there in Shreveport, Louisiana, was Division I at the time, smallest Division I school in the nation at the time, like 865 students. And that was an amazing story in itself. So it's Division III today, but it was Division I back then when I was there.
Ah,
oh, wow.
Okay.
Just an FYI. Sorry.
Good. No, that's good to
great.
know. Always appreciate the corrections.
Yes.
Nope. That's a crazy story in itself.
Yep. So
we'll dig into that a little bit, I think, here soon.
Yeah.
But Mike, I want to get it started like kind of how we do with everybody here. So give us a little bit, or take us through your journey, your softball journey. Like, how did you go from, where did it start? How did you go from a travel ball coach into coaching at such a high level, like internationally and in the NPF? Where did it all start for you?
Oh boy, it's fun to, basically born and raised in Rio Linda, California, a small city in Sacramento, and played baseball, basketball. Mom didn't let me play football, didn't want me to get injured. I was lucky enough to be around some really good people in baseball before I got into fast pitch softball. Coached some major leaguers, worked with Jerry Weinstein at Sacramento City College, head coach of the American Legion team in Sacramento, Hagan Grant, and just fell in love with coaching and teaching after my playing career. Really, one of the simple things that happened one day at Sac City, Tim Kiernan, legendary coach from Sac City College, asked me if I wanted to work some of his Sac City softball camps, and I needed the money, and I said sure. And the cool part of that is I met some great players and a young lady that I was close friends with. Ended up signing with Coach Candrea at the University of Arizona, which was a major, probably just turning point for me because I thought I was going to see my friend to hang out and have fun in Tucson, but I ended up in the dugout with Coach Candrea when he called me down and built a relationship with Coach Candrea. And that's kind of how I switched over from baseball to the softball world, if you wanted to hear about that. And people ask me all the time how you made that change. And, I got to meet Coach Candrea. I was giving baseball and softball lessons in Sacramento at the California School of Baseball and Softball. Fell in love with the game, fell in love with pitching, played a little bit of fast pitch softball, taught myself how to pitch. Just, I guess a lot of people say I'm a great teacher. I started teaching and coaching softball. And to be honest with you, I got lucky enough to coach junior college softball first at Sac City before I really started doing travel ball. I guess that's why I'm telling the story in this order. And when I started coaching at Sac City, then I ended up with some other junior college coaching jobs, some head coaching jobs in California. And during that time, back in 1985, I decided I was going to try to be a professional coach. I was going to, my grandfather told me I needed to get a job, get a real job. My mom said you needed to get a job. And I'm kind of proud to say I've been coaching my whole life. That's all I've done is I've been a softball coach and a baseball coach. So as I was going on that journey, I built the fast pitch school. Then people asked me to coach teams, and then after that, it was a crazy journey getting started. Coaching young ladies. I've coached 10U all the way up to Olympics and pro fast pitch. So I've had a lot of fun doing it.
What was your favorite part?
Hope that was a good answer.
What was your favorite part?
What's my favorite part?
Or favorite group, goodness. I guess.
My favorite group?
Yeah. I mean, professionals, 10Us, college.
My 7-year-old daughter just asked me to coach her for the first time, and it brought me into tears. And this happened in the last 2 to 3 weeks. But I would say my best, most favorite experience, life-changing of my experience, was traveling around the world with groups of women, teams, and playing international softball at the national team level around the world is just one of the most enjoyable, passionate, fun things I did, if that's an answer to your question.
Sure.
Coaching the USA team and then coaching the Chinese national team, oh my goodness, that's probably the biggest oxymoron you could ever think of. So that was a great experience. I tell people all the time, and an absolutely horrible experience at the same time too. But I learned so much from coaching, being a part of coaching those two national teams.
So, Michael, I want to ask you a little bit about the fast pitch school, Team TFS. Is that still going now? Is that something you're still doing?
Because becoming a father at the age I'm at, I did not have the desire to travel as much as I used to travel. I wanted to spend time with Bella. So basically the franchise teams of Team TFS have not been operated now for a couple of years. The Fast Pitch School, that's the acronym TFS, the Fast Pitch School. That's my business. That'll always be my business. I still do camps, clinics. I give a lot of private lessons. I truly love to teach. That's my favorite thing to do. I do coaching clinics. I do, it's kind of cool. I don't know how much in years past, I've had Olympians and potential Olympians come and train with me and work with them on some elite aspects of the game. I'm doing that currently and hopefully going to do some more in the future as we get ready for LA 28 in Oklahoma City. But yeah, the Fast Pitch School is still up and operating. I'm trying to find a person to help manage my business so I can get the Team TFS going. I got so much going on in my life right now. I can't find the time, make the time to get everything done that I need to manage. So yeah, Team TFS is not operating right now as we speak, but the Fast Pitch School is open and we're still doing a lot of good things.
Awesome.
So you've coached in a lot of different environments. What did each level teach you?
Oh my goodness. The first thing that comes off the top of my head, Ken, when you ask me that question is, even sitting here right now talking to you, I used to believe that you guys understand everything that I'm saying. But boy, have I learned that what I think and what I understand, it can be completely misconstrued and defined in a different way than I'm thinking. I've had to learn how to understand how Ken thinks and how Jay thinks and how every player, every parent, how they think. And I think that all happened and changed me so much when I found myself in a world where I had 45, 50 people in front of me on a daily basis, and I would speak in my native language, English, and nobody understood what I was saying. And then I found out my interpreters knew nothing about what I was saying, knew nothing about softball. And I was pulling my hair out and trying to figure out, how in the heck are you going to do this? How can you coach at the Olympic level when you can't, talk to people via language? So I think the biggest thing I could share is, man, don't assume everybody understands your words and what you're saying. And I can humbly and just say it's been a blessing to learn how to communicate and teach and coach without words. And that's probably one of the most powerful statements I could make. Every human I've met, they all are great visual learners. So many things that I do and teach and coach with, I try to be able to explain things visually. When I run my mouth like I am right now, a lot of times people don't understand what I've experienced, what I'm trying to explain. Yeah, I hope that makes sense as well. That's a statement I make all the time. Does that make sense? And it's when we're communicating like this, we have to understand each other.
Yeah, that's definitely one that I use, and I know Jay uses as well. Just working with kids, it's funny a lot of times to say, okay, now you need to accelerate. And then I look at the kid and say, do you know what accelerate means? And they'll either go no, or they give some definition of what they think the word is just to say something. And you always have to remind yourself that just because you understand doesn't necessarily mean the person you're talking to does. But especially when working with younger kids, a lot of times they're not going to ask a question. They'll just nod their heads and go, okay.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. I call that the courtesy nod. I get the courtesy nod all the time. And I have a story of a kid that won a national championship at the University of Florida, and I was giving her lessons, and she would courtesy nod me all the time. And I would say, "You fat, ugly, stupid," real fast. And she would courtesy nod back to me. And I would say, are you fat, ugly, stupid? And she would courtesy nod back to me. One day her dad just got so mad and started yelling at her. And it was really a great lesson for her to listen to me differently because, again, I was trying to share information. And, I think her father confronting her and say, hey, you got to listen to Coach B a different way, played a role in her getting to the University of Florida and winning national championships. So, yeah, it's words like accelerate. Another fun thing that I'm dealing with a 7-year-old right now, I say it to kids all the time. If I ask a question, I sense they don't understand, I say, why don't you Google it? Why don't you ask ChatGPT? Ask your phone to give you the answer. Yeah. And they'll look at me and they eventually will say, okay, I got to ask my phone. I'm like, no, I want your brain to answer that question. I'm teaching you, not your phone. So the reliance that kids today and even us as humans, adults, that we're starting to reliance of using our technology, using our phones, using the internet, I think that's a major issue that we're dealing with as a society, just of how technology and how we can get answers to our questions and get information from, machines and technology and AI now. So yeah, that's huge to me.
Yeah. Especially for me at 2:00 in the morning, I wake up and then something pops into my head and then I can't get it out. And then I have to go and open something up to find the answer. Just like it could have waited till morning. I didn't need to know right now. I'm not going to do anything about it, but.
Yep. It's crazy world in 2026. We're learning and changing a lot as far as how we get information.
Speaking of that, I want to talk to you a little bit about how you feel the game has changed most from when you first started coaching to now. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, my Lord. I usually start answering that question with, when I first started coaching softball, the ball was white.
I remember that.
I don't even know how many people remember when the ball was white, but the biggest thing that I could say, just the strength and the size of the athletes has grown so much over the years since I've been coaching. I when I'm trying to help kids make it to college now, I have them look at the size of the girls that are playing in the power conferences and look at how big and how strong they are. Because I used to believe you could teach a kid to mentally beat those kids that have that great physical ability. But those kids with that huge size now and strength, they're also playing the game at a really high level mentally. So I think the strength is a big thing. I think technology has changed a lot of things. Man, and another topic I can talk about is the speed of the game, which I've been measuring for years now. The speed of the game has gotten so much faster than I remember when I was a much younger coach.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Just watching how quickly, even, somebody you would think would be big and lumbering, you're thinking slow, and then they hit the ball and they take off and they're down the line in less than 3 seconds. And it's like, wow, I can't believe somebody that big can move that fast.
The athletes that I see playing now at the highest levels, and man, as we prepare for the Olympics in 28, just trying to comprehend picking the national team for Team USA with the athletes we have and speed and power and pitching. It's a whole new world, and they're bigger, faster, stronger for sure in all sports. Okay, yeah. Watching the NBA right now with they're arguing 7'5" human being that can dribble it and handle it like Steph Curry and shoot and dunk and jump. I feel like as humans, we're getting bigger and stronger and faster.
Yeah. Now, I remember going to coaching clinics and the college coaches telling people, don't really waste a lot of time trying to do a 6-4-3 double play. That works in baseball with the longer baselines, but it doesn't really work in softball because the bases are just too short. And now you see 6-4-3 double plays all the time, at least at the higher levels. And I even see travel teams executing them.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, I have a fun story I can share as far as the learning curve for me, speed of game. I remember the first time, and I'm trying to remember the event, I got to coach first base for Team USA, and we're playing Japan. And if you know anything about international softball and the Asians, they play defense really fast. And I'm all excited. I get out to coach first base, and we got a runner on first base. I'm talking to her, and a ground ball gets hit. And I'm watching the Japanese player catch the ball to field, the initial ground ball. And before my eyes and brain can get to first base, I heard the ball hit the first baseman's glove.
Oh.
And that was I'll just never forget. That was a life-changing moment for me about how fast the game can be played. And they turned that double play at a speed my brain and eyes didn't recognize. I remember that was a light bulb moment, life-changing moment for me. Wow, this game is really, really fast, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. So what all did you do with Team USA? I know that you were a part of it. Obviously you coached first base some. What were you involved with?
Well, two things that I officially did. I was named as an assistant coach for the 2002 USA Softball Junior Women's National Team. And it's kind of ironic, and you can put this all together. The place we went, all of us flew into Chicago, went to a Cubs game, and I got to see a lifelong friend, Dusty Baker, managing the Cubs at the time. And then the next day we got on an airplane and we flew to Beijing, China. But the World Championships were actually being held in Nanjing. So we took another plane and flew to Nanjing. And I was blessed with being an assistant coach for the USA Junior National Team in 2002. We ended up winning a silver medal. Sounds familiar, and you probably know who we lost to. We lost to Japan. So I was able to do that. Then it was kind of interesting when I was coaching the Akron Racers. One of the things I was told when I got sent to Akron was there was a young kid there by the name of Crystal Bustos. And Sharon Backus told me, she said, Michael, we think you can handle Crystal Bustos. And I'm like, what a loaded statement that is now, going back to then. Then I got to meet Bustos, and she became a part of my life. Coach Candrea was calling me about her. I don't know if you guys know the history of Crystal with the USA national team, but it's quite a journey and a story. But then Ralph Weekly had me on the phone, and Ralph said, hey, is Crystal good enough to play on the U.S. Olympic team? And I remember saying, Ralph, she's by far the best athlete, best hitter, most powerful athlete, fastest athlete I've ever seen. And you guys probably know the rest of that. Then during that time, I was selected to be on what's called the USA Women's National Team coaching pool. And I went to several camps with USA Softball. And back then it was out in the San Diego, California area, down there in Southern California. We had a training camp down there. I'm trying to remember the name. But anyway, I kind of developed the role as the teacher for the players. I threw a lot of batting practice to all our great players. I caught a lot of pitchers. I was lucky enough to catch Jenny Finch and catch Kat Osterman. I threw BP to Stacy Newsman and Crystal Bustos. And, a lot of the players traveled around and did clinics with the Olympians. And I never officially made a USA national team coaching staff because that coaching pool was pretty select and pretty elite. But I was always proud that I got asked to do a lot of training and teaching with our elite Olympians. And those are some of the great memories of my life.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Yeah, that's incredible. And amazing athletes that you're talking about there too, which is fantastic. I want to fast forward a little bit here, Michael, if we can. Like you started to work with Team China as well, right? After that, was that after that, right?
Yeah, it's all, Jay, it's all intertwined. It's kind of funny. You can see with this, when this happened, I was getting exposure to the international world. One of the things that happened, I was living in Tampa, Florida after I coached the Akron Racers, and I was working for Ken Griffey Sr. and Ken Griffey Jr. actually running their baseball and softball camps. And I met Cindy Bristow. I don't know if you guys know the name. She was working for the International Softball Federation at the time. She called me over to Plant City, where they had their offices where the Reds used to train. And she just looked at me. I'll never forget. This is life-changing. She goes, "Michael, do you want to see the world?" And I'm like, "Oh boy, what do you mean?" We're at the International Softball Federation. She goes, "You're fearless enough and you're crazy enough. I need a clinician. You're not married. You're single. I'll send you wherever you want to go, wherever I get asked to send a coach. And you're crazy enough and you're fearless enough, you'll go do that." And oh my goodness, that opened up a Pandora's box. And one of the transitions that happened to China, it was in the Athens Olympic Games. I remember being in the stands, in the bleachers, and on the field, around the dugout. And these Chinese were staring at me and talking about me. And they were watching me interact with some of the USA players. And finally, a little Chinese woman that has become a dear friend in my life now and walked up to me in her best English and say, "Michael, you coach Crystal?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I work with Crystal." She goes, "Would you be interested in coming to China to teach and coach?" And I went, "Oh my goodness." So, that's kind of where in the Athens game, that story happened. Moving forward, it was at the World Series, probably in 2005. I was with my USA softball people. I was talking to people and I was trying to find out what my role would be with USA softball coming forward. And, it was really hard for them to say who would be the final coaches for them. And, lo and behold, I was getting emails and stuff from Qian about when are you going to come over to China? And they flew me into a town named Kunming. And I'll never forget this. It was late at night and I was dealing with jet lag. I walked into a training center and I could tell there was a large group of people in this room, but there was a big screen up on the wall and they were playing Crystal Bustos, swinging over and over, hitting bombs, hitting home runs. And I walked in and they introduced me as the coach that's going to teach them to hit like Crystal. And, I ended up doing like a 2-week clinic for them there in Kunming, and it was an amazing life and experience in itself. And that's kind of funny story. That's where I first met the silver medal winning pitcher from the 1996 Olympics in Atlanta, Columbus, Georgia, Wong Ling Hong, who threw the pitch to Dot Richardson, who hit the famous fair ball, foul ball home run. And I met Wong Ling Hong there. And, I came home not knowing what was going to happen after being in Kunming. And just, man, I was blown away by everything China at the time and Chinese food and language. And when I got home, I got an email from Chi, and she asked me to meet the national team down in San Diego, where we were holding, I say we, being USA, was holding an international event down in San Diego. And I had to make some really hard decisions. I remember calling some people in USA softball, and I knew that might be the ending of me being in the USA national team coaching pool. But I'm saying to myself, the Olympics are being held in Beijing in 2008, and just an amazing opportunity. And I remember crying and praying and asking my family how they felt about it, coaching friends. And I sent back an email. I said, "Hey, I'll meet you in San Diego." And that was a life-changing event that I flew into San Diego, I think from here in Reno, and I met the national team, and then things snowballed from there. So, well, a lot of things happened.
Yeah. Well, and when you made that move too, I mean, there was a lot of controversy with it. You kind of addressed it a little bit, but people called you a traitor. They were getting all upset about it. Do you think it was because they viewed China as a legitimate threat to the USA's dominance and chances of winning the 2008 Olympics? Was it? I mean, if you'd have been going to, let's say, England or somewhere, would it have been a different story? Somebody that didn't really stand a chance.
At the time, I think the Chinese, they had done really well in 1996. And then during that time period, I think China was ranked fourth. I guess the first thing I would tell you when you bring that up, I think for the rest of my life, the pain that I feel in my gut and in my brain is immense because, I did clinics all around the world on every continent and helped so many national teams. And I loved learning from them. And I loved sharing Western softball and, American USA softball with them. But when the announcement came out, and I think if I'm honest, a lot of it is because of the personal relationships that I had with the players and with coaches. And I talked to many of those players that were famous players, powerful players. I remember talking to the USA national team coaches about it. And they were like, that's a wonderful opportunity. But a lot of the statements always ended with a but. And I think if you go back, and I want to be very careful how I say this, but if you go back in the history of USA coaches and USA national team coaches coaching other teams' national teams, there's not a lot of us that did that. And I think there's a reason why. And I want to say this the best way. It was made clear to me that if I did that, I'll put it this way, my role with USA softball would always be different. Mm-hmm. I'll say it that way. And that really hurts. And I want people to know me. And I hope some of those people that still I don't have the same relationship with, I just love to help people and I love to help the game. And I wasn't thinking of it as that the USA was going to lose something. And to be honest with you, when I talked to Cindy Bristow, we were dominating. And even I tell this story, when I coached USA national team and junior national team, I would sometimes feel sorry for the other team because they didn't even know how to compete with us. Oh, yeah. It wasn't even a competitive game. And then they started asking me to help them. So when I was helping China, that's one of the most powerful countries in the world. And I was just trying to make them better. I did not want to teach them how to win the gold medal and beat Team USA. Man, the amount of money that I was offered, if I would have won a gold medal in 2008 and had to beat Team USA or Team Japan, I probably would have been a wealthy man. But part of the reason why I wasn't actually in charge of Team China then might have been related to even my beliefs as far as I just wanted to help any and every country get better. And being put in that dichotomy of, top 8 teams, top 10 teams in the world, and being the head coach, being the leader of a powerful country like that, I learned a lot about people. I learned a lot about the process. I learned a lot about competition. And I'll never, ever, ever, ever forget sitting in Beijing in 2008 and being with USA softball parents, being with, USA softball, and the feeling that I got when Japan won the gold medal. I was sad and it hurt that we lost that gold medal. And it was just crazy for me because I helped build the Olympic Stadium in 2008. I put everything together and I helped all the USA players and families get food, get lodging, showed them around town, actually helped President Bush on his visit to Feng Tai Stadium. Got to meet him and, he's like, oh, you're that American coach that's coaching China. And it was kind of like a moment I'll never forget. I'm like, yeah, I'm that guy. But the Chinese called me up and asked me to go down there when President Bush was, coming to check out the venue and meet with Team USA. So it was emotional. It was hard, but I know it made me a better person. And I can tell you, I have great relationships with my girls and coaches and people in China today. And I have great relationships with former USA players, current USA players. I still think some people in USA softball might hold a little bit of grudge against me because I'm very aggressive. I'm very demonstrative. I when it was time to compete, I would compete.
But it wasn't it wasn't like you were selling the Chinese the technical specs to the B-1 bomber either.
Yes,
you were teaching them how to play softball.
I was teaching them how to play softball. I could tell you my email accounts were hacked. I was taken into custody probably 5 times in China when I was trying to leave the country because the Chinese let my visa expire. I got to see inside of the People's Republic of China like I don't think very many Americans ever get to see. I got to be with the North Korean softball team and be close with them and see their players run from me and call me a monster. And just being in the communist world and living in that communist world was amazing for me. So yeah, I could go on, but yeah, it was amazing.
Time, Blue.
Hey, Jay, on a scale of 1 to 10, how important do you think brush contact is for pitchers?
It's pretty high up there, Ken. Probably a 10 since it's hard to get maximum speed or accuracy without it.
Yeah, I agree. But have you ever had a student who struggled to get good, light brush contact?
Sure, all the time, in fact, especially when they've been taught hello elbow and are trying to throw around their hips, or they're sliding their hips out of the way doing that crazy ninja move.
So what do you do when you run into that situation? Keep railing on them until they get it right?
I used to do that a lot, but then I learned about a product called Pitch Squeak, Ken.
Pitch Squeak? What's that?
It's a cool little armband with a squeaker inside of it.
Like a dog toy?
Yeah, kinda.
So how does it work?
Well, you slip the armband onto the pitcher's forearm and you set it so the squeaker is where the brush contact should happen. Then, when the pitcher goes into release, she tries to get it to squeak, like this. If she makes it happen, she got brush. If there's no sound, she knows immediately and can make a correction.
Wow, cool. So she gets immediate audible as well as tactile feedback.
Oh, there you go again, showing off with those big and technical words again. But yeah, she can feel it and hear it.
Does it really work?
You bet it does. I use it with my students all the time, and it helps them learn how to get brush contact pretty quickly if they practice with it.
Sounds neat. Where can I get one?
Oh, it's easy, Ken. Just email support@pitchsqueak.com, and Jason, the inventor of it, and a Polygirl certified pitching coach himself, will ask you how many you want and send them right out.
I'll do that today. Thanks, Jay. What's that address again?
Oh, you bet, Ken. It's support@pitchsqueak.com. One more time for those of you who are listening, support@pitchsqueak.com. And don't forget to mention in the email that you heard about it right here on From the Coach's Mouth podcast, and you'll receive 10% off. Play ball. So, Mike, I want to ask you a question because you've had such experiences internationally and all that. What are some differences between how softball is developed internationally versus how it is here in the States?
Oh, my goodness. Well, I tend to analyze that, and I'm getting asked a lot of questions by national team coaches now, how to qualify for LA 28. And I'm getting asked these questions from different cultures. And one of the first things that I always say, Jay, is softball doesn't have a culture. The only thing that brings a culture to softball are the people, the players, and the coaches and the leaders. And I will tell you, it is way different in Asia, what they do every day and how they think. It is way different in Europe, across the European Federation, how they do things. Now, since 2000 to now in 2026, they've all grown a lot because information gets shared. And I'll share this. The Japanese do a wonderful job of learning from all the different cultures of the world and bringing the cultures from America and, wherever, Australia or Europe, and building into the Japanese program national team. That's one of the reasons why I believe they've won the gold medal in the last Olympics. And another thing I always say is that when I got to the other side of the planet, and you can still go there today, they have a belief. And I was talking to some USA national team coaches about this recently. They have a belief in Asia that if your opponent doesn't score, you don't lose.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to get a really good interpreter to break that language down to, if your opponent doesn't score, you do not lose. You can't lose. And you guys know enough about American and North American and Western softball. We're going to beat the snot out of the ball. We're going to hit home runs and run, and we're going to outscore you. Well, if you look at the last Olympic gold medal games, including Beijing and on, Team USA has had a hard time scoring against Japan.
Yeah.
So I would tell you, I flew over there to China, and I was supposed to teach them to hit, and we would have 12-hour practice days, and most of the time they would give me 60 minutes for hitting. And I would have to fight and complain, like, what the heck am I doing here? You want me to teach them how to hit, but we're taking ground balls for 6 hours. We're taking fly balls for 6 hours. We're getting the amount of reps that are just insane. We're doing it over and over and over. Unbelievable defense, unbelievable defensive drills, but they can't score. But they had a hard time figuring out why they can't score. And I'll be honest with you, somebody might get mad at me if they hear this in China. They still can't score today in the big games against Japan. And it's a cultural thing. So I hope that answers that question.
Yeah. So, Mike, I want to ask you, since we're on this real quick, I want to talk about the Olympics in 2028, right? So, because you talked about how Team USA struggles to hit the ball against Team Japan. So, in your opinion, what do you think Team USA has to do to win the gold in 2028?
Ooh, boy, that's where my brain spends a lot of time right now. I guess, and I want to be respectful. The biggest issue, in my opinion, and I've addressed this, and I'll even say confronted some people in years past, even from 1996 on. I believe we show up with a college softball team. We show up with college softball coaches, and we play a bunch of women that have been traveling the world, playing professional softball in Japan. And we've taken a college all-star team that doesn't get to spend a lot of time together, doesn't really get to become a team. And we play a Japanese women's national team who has spent 3.5, 4 years getting ready to win one game against us. And I don't want to say any names, but I've been talking to people. Some of the greatest softball coaches I know are our American college softball coaches. I believe Patty Gasso is just extremely qualified to lead Team USA. But learning what Japan's weaknesses are, learning how they attack us. I think the biggest thing is how they attack us and how they've controlled our offense in the big games. They are, amazing. And I'll tell some things people don't know. The head coach of Team Japan, she's a Chinese woman. And if you process that, that's huge to me. She actually played softball with my wife in Beijing. They were both on the Beijing professional team. Yes. This is why and her name is Rika Utsugi. She's a legend right now. She's Chinese. Well, she was smart. The Japanese asked her to come. This is how smart they are. They asked Rika to come play in Japan. And and I got to be careful how I say it here. She's like, sure, I'll go to Japan. And they paid her a lot of money. And she played in the Japan professional leagues. And she helped them get better. And then she didn't come back. And she now became a Japanese citizen. And to do that, you have to... China doesn't let you be a dual citizen. I'll just put you that way. And now Rika is, coaching the Japanese national team, Olympic team, and she has an American pitching coach. And she's Chinese, and she has Japanese assistant coaches. And I'm giving you some answers. She has all these people from around the world helping them learn to play softball at a high level. And I'm going to say it beat us, which hurts. I'm always going to be a USA American citizen, proud USA softball supporter, USA coach formerly. And I think we need to do a better job of understanding what Japan is doing to us. I don't think we could take any longer our college plan for offense and scoring runs and to beat Japan in 2028. I think there's some real learning and evolution that needs to take place with that. And I'll be honest with you, I think some people listen to me and hear me say that, and they don't even understand what I'm saying. Like maybe, I don't know how much you're understanding right now, going back to I'm running my mouth.
No.
But
honestly, Michael, I get it. And if anybody wants to understand what you're saying and they're not getting it right now, go watch the movie Miracle about the USA hockey team in 1980. Everything you're saying here is what Herb Brooks said and what he did. He talked about if you want to beat the Soviet Union, that's a professional team that plays together all the time. Said it's a team-oriented game. It's not about the individuals. He said we have all-stars, even when we have the NHL players. It's all about them scoring and doing this and that and kind of individual glory. And the only way you're going to beat them is you've got to beat them at their game. You have to change your game to do it.
That is a great analogy, a great analogy. And, you guys are a lot like me. I think you can see that in so many different sports. I was a college basketball player at Sac State, Division I college basketball player. I wasn't athletic enough, but I look at the number of foreign players, non-Americans in the NBA right now. It's amazing to me how much the game has grown. To me, that's our world today, immigration and learning from different cultures and different people. And, I guess I'm an American, and my Japanese friends, my Japanese coaching friends, they'll probably listen to this. I'll be honest with you. 2008 was a crazy, amazing Olympic time for me. I hope in 2028 on our home soil in the USA, LA 28 Olympics, but we'll be in Oklahoma City. Man, I can't tell you how invested I am is that we get that gold medal back. And I would do anything and everything to make that happen. I don't even know if they're interested in me helping them, but man, I would love to share what I've learned. And, I can say the Japanese came and trained with us in China. I went to Japan several times, and I could tell you some crazy stories. And I was just amazed how different Japan and China are as far as how they do their softball. And it's related to wars, and it's related to Americans coming into Japan because of military events, and baseball just exploding in Japan and softball exploding in Japan. And it still struggles in China because of communism. And I just was so blessed to learn the Asian experiences by being with the Japanese, being with the Chinese. And I'm a little bit afraid to say this, but I don't like fear. I remember sitting several times with the Japanese coaches, and they had interpreters, and they were railing me on questions on how I teach and how I coach softball, because they knew and know I was the American coach and that I was coaching China now. And I was just, I was trying to help people and sharing information. But I really think, I guess in closing, I wish USA softball would spend more time now, maybe thinking about how our top opponents think and how they play, because we haven't won the gold medal in a while, and it hurts. So I hope that makes sense.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. All right. So I want to change gears a little bit. We're going to go from the international level all the way down to the travel ball level. What do you think about the current state of travel softball today? I know you've been kind of out of it a little bit, but I don't think it's changed that much in the last couple of years.
No, I still go. I still go help people. I still go. You're talking about college coaches not wearing any identification. I go to events. I go in dugouts. People know who I am, and I go listen, and I go get close. I want to be careful here too. I think the biggest thing that you asked about what has changed, I will tell you the biggest thing that I'm interested in. I don't want to say it concerns me, but it's something that I'm concerned about. The parent, the softball parent today is so different in 2026 than I can remember in years past. And I try to figure out why the parent, and I'll say the American parent, because the American sports parent is way different than other sports parents around the world. If nobody's ever said that to you, I'll give a little analogy. I was asked to help coach a local high school here that's a very successful high school. It wasn't a successful softball program at the time. And I started coaching, and I don't think anybody knew my resume. I don't think anybody knew my wife's resume. And I remember standing on the field and listening to parents coach my players as a game was going on, telling them how to hit, calling pitches. And I was just like, oh my goodness. And my wife said to me, and this is a true thing, Chinese parents, it's changed a little bit now, but her parents never saw her practice or play.
Really?
My Chinese national team players, their parents were never allowed to come to games. They even tried to keep them out of the 2008 Olympics. And I'll share this because it's one of my greatest life events. I fought to get tickets for me from my boss, and she knew what I was doing, and I gave them to my players' parents. So I guess what I'm saying in travel ball, we have the term daddy ball, nepotism. We got so many people that are involved in the journey that are coaching and teaching and that's even part of what happened. Talk about a segue in Gainesville. What I've been told parents were doing and saying in the bleachers. Here's what I think the fix is, or the problem. Parents don't trust coaches. parents don't trust teachers. And I can name reasons like terrorism and pandemic and all these things. I think we've learned a fear culture here where I feel like parents will pay me to teach their child. And at times I feel like they want to protect their kid from everything. And, somewhere in your questions, there was a fail thing, but and again, in China, parents are kept away in communism. So eliminate the problem and just keep them away. I always wondered, man, don't you miss the life, the living together? Proudly, I'm going to say, and humbly, my life living with me here now, my wife living with me over 10 years here in America, she's actually learning that the game of softball is fun, and she's loving kids and crying with kids. And I hate saying this, but I don't know of too many Chinese coaches that I coach with actually cared about their players. And I can tell you, sir, I cared about my players. So I want to answer you. I think where travel ball is right now, I think the lines are blurred about leadership. I think the lines are blurred about who's in charge. I think the lines are blurred about who we trust. Then you add in economics, you add money, you take technology, social media. The game has become so big. And I'll be honest, one of the reasons I think I don't fight to do my club team right now, state of play costs. Everything costs this. You gotta pay for everybody's making a dollar. And here I am, a professional coach that I'm trying to make a living, but club softball, travel softball, whatever you want to call it, it's become big business now. And and that's a perfect segue to the big business of college softball today too. But yeah, I hope that's again another answer that can make sense.
And then what about the idea that it seems like there's a race now, there's like an arms race to see how many games each team can play. And it's almost like for bragging rights at this point. How do you think that affects development?
I totally, and for 1 year in my life, I coached softball for over 350 days. And a lot of times training, I would train for 12 hours a day, and I would talk about burnout. I would talk about getting tired, and I was exhausted. I was crying. I wanted to come home. I had blisters, and boy, did I learn about hard work. And that again is coaching in Asia and China. We work so hard. I think the thing that, you can play a lot of games, but I always ask people, what's the purpose of the game? What are you trying to accomplish? I think so many people are trying to get that college scholarship, get some type of financial remuneration. I always ask myself, if we're going to go to an event and we're going to play a game, what are we trying to do? Are we trying to win? Are we trying to develop, make better young ladies, make better softball players? Are we trying to get a scholarship? Are college coaches going to be there to see us? I mean, I see so many events now where people advertise college coaches. This is just a key phrase. I don't think there's a lot of parents that realize college coaches get paid to go recruit. And I don't think they understand that when a college coach is getting paid to go to an event, their desires, the way that they're recruiting and evaluating completely change versus when they spend their own money and their own time and they're going to an event to see a kid that they really want. It changes everything. And I have arguments with people that run showcases, and, they talk about college coaches coming, and I know those college coaches are getting compensated to be there. And to me, the simple answer to your question is, if the kid wants to play it, and God, I'm living it now with my daughter, and I'm a dad, I want her to want to play. If parents are forcing their kids to play that much and they don't want to play that much, you guys all know what happens. Burnout happens. They end up not liking the game. I can tell you, I'm going to say thousands of stories now where I know of college players, they get their scholarship that they were pushed to get, and they don't like the game anymore once they get to college and they have the scholarship, and they're dealing with burnout. So I think you can play too much. My favorite thing to ask Bella basically on a daily basis now is, what do you want to do with your free time? Do you want to dance? What do you want to play? And I get really, really scared if I'm pushing her towards softball. And I believe I've pushed her away from softball because of my fears. So I think you can overdo it, but I think every situation is different. And you have to pay attention to your son or your daughter as far as what they want to do. Yeah. So I hope that's a decent answer.
Oh, that's a great answer. Ken and I both believe the same thing that you're saying here, Michael. Absolutely. And I have an 11-year-old too, and we're a semi-travel team. I don't want to be traveling 5 hours when we can go play some friendlies on a weekend. save some money, play, let the kids develop, right? Because softball's good everywhere, instead of playing 80 games this summer and the kids are burned out. Now they don't want to play next year. And so same thing, like I couldn't agree with you more. Now, I have to ask you, because I was a fan of this product. You've also been kind of like an inventor, right? Like you use, I had 2 whip hit bats, and I want to talk a little bit about that. And then I also want to talk, you made a ball, and I can't remember what it was called, but you took kind of the sides off of it. Can you give us a little information on where did these ideas come from? Yeah, that one right there, Ken. That's what I'm talking about. Earlier today. So give us an idea of first of all, start with the whip hit bat, because I had 2 of those things and I absolutely loved them. I still have one that I don't use often because I want to keep it. And then the ball. Give us a little idea of where these ideas came from. And also, before you answer, you got anything new coming up that we should be on the lookout for?
Oh boy, I've learned how to protect intellectual property on this journey. I've learned about patents. I learned about how everybody will take your idea and try to help them financially and in their business. So I'm a thinker. You guys probably realize I love to analyze. I love to figure things out. Honestly, with all these devices that have come out of my head, they were spurned by language barrier. They were created because I couldn't communicate. And that's when, as I talked a little bit about earlier, I had to learn to communicate. We trained a lot down in Guangzhou, China in the wintertime. And it's warm down there. It's kind of like the Florida of China. And we would just go long days in the wintertime. And I'm struggling. And I'll tell you the whip hit story, because the whip hit story is really kind of funny. And my favorite interpreter, Joey, told me all the time that he knew softball. And I was trying to teach hand path, and you can be long or short to the ball. And I'm trying to teach them. And all my Asian players, they barred out. They got a long arm. They tried to develop power with a lead front arm. And I'm racking my brain going, how can I teach this? How can I teach it? And the first thing that came out of my brain was I was a swimmer growing up in Sacramento, Rio Linda. And I used to be able to take my swimming towel, and I would dip the end of it in water, and I would circle it up, and make a whip.
Right.
Get the name right there?
Yep.
Get the whip. And I could take my wet towel, and I learned to be able to snap my friend or whoever anywhere I wanted to.
You were that guy.
And I learned that skill of snapping that towel. And to make a long story short, my interpreter, I would say, keep your hands inside the ball. And this is the funny story. I didn't know he was saying, put your hands in the ball. I literally think of my English right now. I'm saying, keep your hands in the ball. So to have your hands in the ball, you got to put your hands in the ball. So here he is interpreting this to my Olympians. And it's funny, I kind of figured out who my smartest players were, because when my interpreters were failing or they sucked, they would kind of look at me and shake their head. No, Michael, he's not explaining what you're trying to say. So I was using my towel to demonstrate one day at practice, and I would snap the softball off the tee. And I don't know if both of you have used the whip hit. That I still use a towel today to teach hand path. And honestly, I got a roll of duct tape. I took a softball, and I took a baseball that I stole from the baseball team, and I taped them to the end of a towel. And then I measured how far it is from a sweet spot on a 33, 34-inch bat, handle to the ball. And it's about 27 inches. And I made like 3 or 4 of those for practice. And I still have one of those in my garage somewhere. Those were the first whip hits. And I went out myself, and I started hitting a ball off a tee with a ball. And my brain just, this is kind of a thing I use. My light bulb was just flashing off. Then I remember calling an engineering friend in Cincinnati, Ohio, by the name of Howard Carrier, one of the greatest teachers and coaches. He was a dear friend of mine. I asked him, I said, hey, can you put a ball on the end of a piece of rope? And can you put a handle on it, like a bat handle? And I remember his language was funny. He goes, what in the F are you talking about? And then, I tried to explain to him the idea. And on one of our trips here to the USA, he shipped to me some of the first prototypes of the whip hit. And I just said, oh my God. And they were made with baseballs at the end. And you probably know the whip hit that you have, Jay, is a baseball. Yeah. And we used them, and I showed it, to the Chinese girls. And you guys probably know, people started watching it and seeing it. And I think it's a timeless training device that, if you understand the physics of a baseball or a softball swing. You got to have the right hand path. The energy has to travel down the bat, and the energy has to go into the sweet spot of the bat, and then you transfer that energy into the ball. And, the whip hit was kind of invented, and the people are still using it. The one that's famous right now, and I suck at being a businessman, I'll be honest with you. The rope bat. I don't know if you guys have all seen the rope bat.
Yeah.
But they took the piece of rope, and I even know that they kind of know my idea, and they put a pad out there at the end. One of the biggest complaints that I got about the whip hit, and then if you swing and miss or swing hard and that sucker hits you in the back or hits you in the head, it's a great weapon. I'll just put it that way. I always thought if I was going to go get in a fight, it's kind of like numchucks, I guess, the whip hit.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. That you got that, you had a whole other market there with the Chinese martial arts market.
Oh my goodness, yeah. When the Chinese saw me doing that, the Chinese that had nothing to do with baseball and softball, they'd come and watch. I don't know if you guys know, Tuolo is how you pronounce it in Mandarin. I even actually have some videos where I played. They have a top that spins on the ground, and they snap a whip into this piece of wood top, and they spin it. And I've actually done hitting clinics using the whip and the Tuolo top. So
nice.
The whole theory of a whip moving a device, again, it all makes sense, and that's kind of the story of the whip hit. So I hope that's what you were looking for.
Yeah,
Jake.
absolutely. I still love it, man. It's great. So
it's timeless. I still use it. I still keep it in my bag. As I think I told you, that connection point where the rope goes into the ball. And again, if you understand the physics, that's where all the energy ends up. So you have the energy of the collision between the two balls, and then the energy of the power coming down the rope. Those balls kept exploding.
Yeah.
And they kept fracturing, which made the product effective. And if you still, what year did you get your bat? I got to ask you a question.
Oh my goodness. I'm just going to throw this out. I don't know this factually. I'm going to say somewhere around probably 2017, I'm guessing. No, before that. Oh my goodness. Before that, 2014, 2015.
That ball hasn't fractured.
I had one that fractured, and then you sent me another one.
And I replaced it. Okay.
And that one, yes, you did. And that one has not.
And honestly, the reason I quit manufacturing them is I couldn't find a way to keep those balls from fracturing. And that's where I give credit to the people that made the rope bat. They just fastened a pad on. I actually hasn't cut one apart yet to see how they put that pad at the end of the rope bat. But the reason that I'm not doing the whip hit anymore, it was just too hard to keep that ball and rope fracturing. And honestly, I can tell you another fun part of it. Yeah, I let Crystal hit with it one day, Bustos, and she looked at me like I was crazy, but she teed up a ball and looked at it and swung it around a couple times. And I can honestly tell you, she hit the ball like 150 feet off a tee with a whip hit bat. I remember that Crystal did so many things that made my mouth just go, huh? And I saw Crystal hit that ball off a tee with a whip, and I said, I know we have something here. This is something something valuable. So yeah.
For some of our,
you want to hear about the balls?
Yeah, just real quick about the ball.
Yeah, I just want to throw something in there just for our younger listeners, parents, and kids. Just look up Crystal Bustos.
I'm talking too much.
Just look up the name Crystal Bustos. See some videos. She was amazing.
Greatest hitter, greatest player ever. These two balls end up being manufactured. This is the pitching ball, where both edges are cut off the outside. It's pretty simple. You can see spin rotation. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of different versions out there. There's a lot of different companies now selling this same type of ball. This ball is the one that I cut first. This is the hitting ball that's being sold by some manufacturers out right now. It's really kind of simple, and this will be hard for the people that are listening. You never want to hit the outside third of a baseball or a softball. You never want to hit the outside third of a baseball. So you got middle third, inside third, outside third. Well, guess what I did to the outside third? I cut it off. I cut it off so the Chinese couldn't hit it anymore. I took a hacksaw to like 100 balls. It took me like a bunch of hours. And I went and I sat them on the tee. And I remember them walking up and going, whoa. But instantly, their hand path fixed because they were hitting the inside of the ball. And the reason the line is there, on the outside pitch, you want to hit the inside third of the ball. Mm-hmm. On the inside pitch, you want to hit the middle third of the ball. You never, ever, ever want to hit the outside third of the ball, because if you do, it goes foul and the umpire clicks strike.
Yep.
You lose, and the smart pitchers and catchers go, yeah, we got him to hit the outside of the ball. So that's kind of a short version of those balls.
That's great. That's great. Thanks.
It's a lot of fun. I travel around the world now, travel across China, in Europe. I even went down to Australia at Christmas, and I see the cut softballs, and it makes my heart happy.
Yeah, I have one of the versions where it had both sides cut off. Bought it originally for pitching, but I found it was really good for teaching overhand throwing as well. I had a catcher that she had a pretty good arm, but she kept on getting side spin on the ball. And so I gave her one of these and, put that in her hand, and I actually had her take it home and work with it. And, when I threw it, it was, straight up and down. And then she'd throw it and it was kind of flopping around. Say, when you can throw it like this and just get it to spin, then you've got proper spin on the ball. And it worked. She improved immensely from that. So thank you.
You're welcome. When they can see what they're doing wrong, they'll fix it a lot faster. They just hear me going blah, blah, blah. That's what we would say in countries where they didn't understand me. When I was just going blah, blah, blah to them, I realized I had to show them. So yeah, the visual training aids are so powerful and so valuable. I'm sorry if I'm talking too much.
No, you're not at all.
Great.
So like we said, we told you just be a little bit over an hour. So we've just got a few more questions for you, Michael, but we really appreciate you being on here with us today. So I want to talk to you a little bit about what Ken and I started this whole segment off with about, you've spoken openly about, negativity in the softball world. Why do you think the sport can become so toxic at times? And maybe give us a little bit about what you saw with the Texas Tech and Florida game there, if you don't mind.
Do you want me to talk evolution or talk where we are today?
I mean, honestly, I think probably where we are today, because I think that's who people are listening to. Like, I think people that are listening want to know about like today's kind of where we're at today.
Okay. The NCAA transfer portal and the name, image, and likeness money has changed everything, changed all the rules, changed the definition of student athlete. To me, NCAA Division I softball now, I don't know what the difference is between that and our professional leagues in America. The amount of money that athletes are being paid right now to play in college. Heck, I coached at Ohio State University. I have friends there. The Ohio State football team's salary cap, amazing. I'll try to make a long story short. The amount of money that's being paid to Texas Tech's softball team and players, it's mind-boggling to me. The amount of money, I'll say this, I got to be careful, that's being paid to the Florida Gators softball team is mind-boggling to me, but it's not like anything that's being paid at Texas Tech right now because of how and where the funding's coming from. So when you have the transfer portal, and as I'm sitting here doing this podcast with you guys, the top of my phone cracks me up. The text messages and the calls are just pounding me right now. And I'll tell you, 75% of them are about the portal and transferring. And can you help me? Can you explain this? And all kids realize and parents know they want to get out, but I think there's an evolution taking place today where, okay, if you get out, where are you going? And if you're going somewhere else, is it going to be better? So I did some work this year and I found my way inside of an NCAA Division I basketball program. And I got people to trust me enough to tell me how much money these guys are being paid. And I made friendships with the players that were being paid. And the amount of money just made me go, oh my goodness. And, then I had the courage to ask, I said, do you guys go to class? How much do you go to class? Do you care about being a student? And I can even say, I had a kid that I'm very close with. I said, okay, so when am I going to see you again? He's like, well, I'm going to Dallas. I'm going to the NBA camp and I'm going to get some offers to sign for NBA Summer League. And I remember saying, oh man, okay. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, do you care about your finals? Do you care about finishing school? But no, he was on an airplane going to the NBA summer camp tryouts. And, I hope I'm making sense. The portal has made commitment and team commitment just completely changed and thrown out the window, that you can just, You don't even have to tell your coach and your teammates you're leaving. You just have to go on the web page and tap out. I call it tap out, and let the NCAA know that you're leaving. You should go to your compliance, because your compliance gets notified, and then when you get in the portal, an email gets sent to every NCAA registered school, institution, and coach, and they see that you're a free agent now. That's what I call it. I call it a free agent, just like professional sports. And then the amount of money that's being paid to softball players now, I think it's great. Go ahead.
The total budget for some of these teams is like a small third world country.
Yeah, I'm trying to be careful. When I coached Team China from 2005 to 2008, I had an unlimited budget. And when I mean unlimited, it was unlimited.
Nice.
I spent over $3 million traveling the world with my Chinese mom. And we went everywhere. And traveling with 30 or 40 people, you guys probably could realize how expensive it is, and hotels and food. But I had an unlimited budget. I had a college coach tell me this week that he has an unlimited budget. Maybe I should have said they have an unlimited budget. But there's programs out there right now in college softball that have unlimited budgets as far as NIL money. And there's some, and here's the problem, there's some that can't get it, that don't have a donor. And there's a school like Stanford, and I know the coach there very well. And, you got Stanford and its academic reputation and everything that they stand for academically, and they're trying to compete and win a national championship with the restrictions that they have in, NIL integrity or NIL money. It's crazy. Absolutely insanity.
Yeah.
And that kind of leads you to what was happening on the field in Gainesville, and even more sadly, what was happening in the bleachers and around the field in Gainesville.
Well, it's unfortunate too, because I think that the portal, the changes to the portal, the NIL, that was all introduced. It was well-meaning, it was well-intentioned, but the law of unintended consequences kind of came in and overwhelmed it.
Yeah, I was teaching Bella how to bowl the other day, and I had the bowling alley put the rails up, and then she never could throw a gutter ball. And she loved bowling a lot better when she couldn't throw a gutter ball.
Yeah.
Because she learned what a gutter ball meant, that she got zero. And I think right now, the way I look at the NIL and the transfer portal, there's not a lot of rails. They're trying to put rails up and rules up in the transfer portal, and they're doing a decent job. But right now, the NIL money world it's the Wild West. And the amount of money that's being thrown out there, I don't have any issue with any kid taking life-changing money and going to a different program, because they're going to get paid to play softball. I keep asking myself, are they any longer a student athlete? And I'm proud to say a lot of the institutions that are paying NIL money, they're making their kids, they're enforcing the academic rules, they're worried about eligibility. And that's a whole nother story, how, grades are getting processed. But yeah, it's a crazy world right now with NIL money.
Yep. Okay, Mike. So
yeah,
just
a lot to think about on that one.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. It's great though. It really is. So Mike, just one more question for you today. All right. If you could,
I talk too much, just like my wife says, man, I talk too much.
It's all good. Yeah. We are happy that what you've given to our listeners and to Ken and I today. So we appreciate everything that you've done today and your time today. So just one last question then. If you could sit down with any softball coach ever for dinner, who would it be?
Oh my goodness. I saw that one, and honestly, it made me think about some things and brought tears to my eyes. Some of these people I've been fortunate enough to have a meal with and spend time with them, and it's been the greatest experiences of my life. But I guess the first thing that I would say, and I can give you names, but you might not know the names. There's a lot of coaches around the world that I wish I could sit and talk with, but they don't speak the same language, and we can't communicate in the same language. Like Rika Utsugi, I would love to sit with her and talk with her more, and have a Japanese interpreter and have an English interpreter and have a Chinese interpreter.
Just get that app for the AirPods. They've got the apps now.
Yeah, those are making things a lot easier, but man, there's still a lot of mistakes in there, and a lot of stuff gets missed, especially when you start talking concepts and language. So my list was Rika Tsugi. I'd love to see Sue Enquist. I've been so blessed to have her as a role model and mentor. I would love to sit and eat with Sue. Enrico Obletter, sadly, the pandemic got him. COVID got him. He was the Italian mafioso. I would call him the leader of Italian softball. He was a dear friend. I miss not having meals with him. Somebody I've never had a meal with. I've never had a meal with Patty Gasso.
Really?
I would. Yeah, I've never had. We coached junior college softball against each other many years ago.
Wow!
But I've actually never sat down and had a meeting with Patty. So,
well, Patty, if you're listening, let's get that put together.
I would going back to we talking about how to win the gold medal. That could be an interesting conversation.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, Michael, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. All the time you spent with us, all the stories you had to tell. It's in the beginning, in the intro, we said you've seen it all, done it all, and you really have. So it's been fun. I hope that everybody listening, it just gets a real feel for what you've accomplished and what you've done for the game.
I'm humbled. This is still fun for me. I'm a teacher. I think a lot of times when you got to run your mouth, storytelling can help people understand a little bit more rather than being there. So yeah, I hope I didn't talk too much. I hope my stories had value. Thank you guys for having me. And any way I can support you guys and what you're doing, I'm always here for you. Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Thanks, Mike.
Jay, do you want to give a shout out on the t-shirts real quick?
Yeah, just have a couple left, Ken. So again, we have a little promo going on. If you share an episode, give us a like, a follow on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, wherever you listen to your podcast, give us a follow, share an episode out, and Ken and I will be happy to send you a free t-shirt out. Just send us a message that you've done that, and we will happily send you a free t-shirt out. So again, share an episode, get some other people to give it a listen, especially this amazing episode here today with Michael. Just give us a share and a follow, and we'll send you a free t-shirt.
And if you're wondering what it looks like, go to our Facebook page, the From the Coach's Mouth Facebook page, and there's a picture of Jay and I wearing them. All righty. Well, that's it for us this week. Thanks to all of you for listening and the kind words you've been sharing with us. If you like what you're hearing, please remember to give us a like, leave a comment, and share this podcast on your social media channels. Make sure you never miss an episode by following us on your favorite podcast platform. And if you're so inclined, you can also leave us a great review on Apple Podcasts to help more people find us. On behalf of the From the Coach's Mouth podcast, have a great rest of your week and weekend.